ever get the feeling like, I don't know, that nourishment is like more than just what you eat?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We've all had those days where, you eat all the right things, salad and all that,
Right.
but you still just feel kind of like depleted.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept, and that's actually what we're going to be exploring in this deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at the teachings from LEMDU,
Okay.
which is a spiritual school, and specifically the teachings of Antar.
And from what I understand, he's got like a really different way of looking at like what food is and what it means to be truly nourished.
Yeah, absolutely. He argues that humans are actually designed to be nourished on multiple levels.
Yeah.
So not just physically, like you were saying, but also mentally, emotionally, even spiritually.
Yeah.
And that if we just focus on the physical, it can leave us feeling kind of incomplete. He talks about breath, sleep, and just our everyday experiences as kind of different forms of food.
Hold on, hold on. How can something like a frustrating commute or
Yeah.
like a really tough conversation be considered food?
Yeah, yeah.
Like those are usually the things I need nourishment from.
It sounds strange at first, I know. But think
Yeah.
about it this way. Every experience, every interaction, every piece of information
Okay.
we encounter carries a certain energy, right?
Right. Right.
And just like with food, some of those experiences nourish us,
Okay.
and some, well, they don't.
Right. Right. Like a burger and fries versus, I don't know, like a green smoothie or something.
Exactly. Like a juicy burger might give you that burst of energy, but then, you might feel sluggish later.
Right. Exactly.
Whereas something like a walk in nature might be more subtle,
Right.
but it nourishes your mind and spirit.
So it's like he's saying we're constantly consuming experiences,
Yes.
whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. And I think the key is to become more aware
Okay.
of
Okay.
what we're consuming on all those different levels,
Okay.
because it can be a real game changer.
You know what I thought was really interesting is how he talked about humanity's role in the cosmos
Okay.
and how it ties into this whole nourishment thing.
Right.
Because, we were talking about like what we receive, but he also talks about like what we contribute, right?
Right. It's not just a one-way street.
Right.
It's not just about what we take from the earth, but also what we give back.
So it's like a relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a reciprocal nourishment, you could say.
Okay.
He even uses your own experience in the desert as an example.
Oh, yeah. He talked about that.
Right.
I was so fascinated by that part because at first I was like, wait, hold on. How can just being somewhere
Yeah.
nourish the environment?
Right.
But then when he explained it, I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
He talks about how your conscious presence,
Right.
your awareness of the desert, your interactions with it, even like small actions,
Right.
all contribute to like a subtle energy exchange that
Carbon.
nourishes the desert.
It's like we're all connected
Yes.
and our smallest actions can have an impact.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
And this is where he brings in the concept of light,
Oh, okay.
specifically photons. Keep into the science of it all.
Wait, so we're talking about like actual sunlight here,
Yeah.
not just like metaphorical light.
Real tangible sunlight.
Oh, wow.
He's suggesting that the same photons that, fuel plant life,
Right.
give us a tan, can also be a source of nourishment that we can tap into.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well,
Do we all need to like start drinking our coffee outside now?
I think coffee is still allowed indoors.
Okay.
But he does emphasize the importance of, spending time in nature,
Okay.
but also practices like meditation and
Yeah.
conscious breathing as
Yeah.
ways to kind of enhance our ability to access this energy.
It's interesting because both of those things are about cultivating awareness.
Exactly.
Right.
It's about tuning in.
And maybe when we do that, we're just more receptive to these subtle energies.
Yeah. It's like becoming more sensitive, to that flow within and around us.
Right, right. Okay, so then he also talks about like this heightened energy and light absorption. He links that to joy.
Yes. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
He believes that when we experience joy, we explode with light from within, as he puts it.
That's a powerful image.
It is a really powerful image.
So it's like joy becomes this like radiant force,
yeah.
not only for us, but also
Yes.
impacting the world around us. And speaking of light and impact, he also talks about awakening the DNA with light, which I thought was really interesting.
Yes. Yes. That's a whole other level.
That's where I was like, okay, I need like a glossary of terms now.
Laughter. Yeah, it can get pretty deep pretty quickly.
But I'm here for it. So what does he mean by that? Activating our DNA with light. Like, how does that relate to spiritual growth?
So to understand that, we need to talk a bit about chakras,
Okay.
which he refers to as our spiritual centers.
Okay.
He suggests that as we activate these centers, our DNA actually responds.
Oh, wow.
It becomes more, you could say, activated as well.
So we're talking about literally changing our being.
It's a bold statement.
It is a bold statement. Through light, through these practices.
That's what he's proposing.
It sounds like something out of, like,
I know. It sounds very sci-fi.
yeah, a sci-fi novel. But, I mean, when you think about it, we know that our mental and emotional states affect our physical health, right?
Absolutely.
Like stress, everyone knows, suppresses your immune system.
Right, exactly.
So why couldn't, like, positive emotions or spiritual practices, why couldn't that have an effect on a cellular level too?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like, what is the potential there?
Exactly. What is that potential? And I'm also really interested to see how these ideas connect to something else that he talks about, which is silence as a form of nourishment.
Oh, that's a great one. That's a really interesting thread to pick up on.
Because that's something I've been trying to cultivate more of in my life.
Yeah.
A little bit of silence.
And it's so important, especially in our modern world, right?
Right.
Where we're constantly bombarded with stimulation.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's like silence has become this precious commodity.
It is.
And it's essential for nourishment, he would say.
So it's like cleansing your palate.
Exactly.
It's like after a big meal, sometimes you just need a break.
Right.
You need, like, a little pause.
You need to digest.
And it's like our minds need that too.
Exactly.
We need that silence to digest everything that we're taking in.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Otherwise, it's just chaos up there.
It's information overload.
Yes.
Right. And just as a balanced diet includes a variety of foods,
Right.
Anthar suggests that true nourishment involves this balance of receiving and giving.
Okay.
Taking in new information, experiences, but then also sharing.
Oh, okay.
Sharing what we've learned, sharing our gifts with the world.
And he connects that to our digestive system, right?
And he does.
Our actual physical, like, gut.
Yes. Isn't that fascinating?
It is.
He calls it our second brain. He says it's responsible for processing not only food, but emotions and energy as well.
Oh, wow.
So just as our physical digestion breaks down food, to create energy, fuel our growth,
Right.
he suggests that we have a similar capacity on a mental and spiritual level to kind of digest experiences, to learn and grow from them.
So it's this constant process, right?
It is. It's a continuous flow.
Of taking in,
hopefully
transforming it.
Transforming it, yeah.
And then putting it back out into the world.
It's like, what you said, what are we choosing to consume?
Right.
What are we letting nourish us?
That's a good question.
And what are we putting back out there?
I like that. What are we putting back out there? It's like he's encouraging us to be more mindful, not just about, like, the food we eat, but what we consume, like, in a broader sense.
Right. Like you said, our experiences, our interactions, the information we take in, it all shapes us.
And speaking of showing up in the world, we were talking about humanity's role in, like, channeling cosmic energy into the earth. How do we actually do that?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah. Like, what does that look like?
And Anthar doesn't necessarily give a, step-by-step guide.
Right.
But he does talk about aligning with our purpose, remembering why we're here,
It makes me think about what you were saying before about the balance between, like, receiving nourishment and giving it.
Yes.
Like, it's a two-way street.
It's all connected. He actually says that when we neglect our own nourishment, we actually diminish our capacity to channel that cosmic energy.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's not just about us.
Right. It's like we have this responsibility to nourish ourselves so that we can nourish the planet.
Wow. That's big. It's like this, I don't know, it's almost like a humbling thought.
It is humbling, and it connects back to that idea of interconnectedness. Like, we're not just these isolated beings. We're part of this massive web of energy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and our actions, our thoughts, they have this ripple effect.
It's kind of wild to think about if we all really, like, grasped that.
Right.
And really lived with that awareness.
What would that look like?
Yeah, what would that look like?
It's a powerful thought experiment.
It is.
He talks about how we have this potential, humans have this potential, to awaken to our own inner light.
Right.
And as we do that, as we become more conscious, it's like we tap into this source of energy and creativity.
So then it's not just about, like, sitting in meditation all day.
No, not at all.
It's about taking that and bringing it out into the world.
Yes, letting it shine through our actions, our creations, even our interactions.
Like the way we treat the cashier at the grocery store.
Exactly, exactly. It's about changing our orientation
Okay.
from what can I get to what can I give?
I like that.
How can I contribute to all of this?
Because it's easy to get caught up in, like, the taking.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. It's a very, like, kind of natural human tendency, you could say.
Totally. But then, I think we forget that there's this other side.
And that other side, the giving side, that's where things get really, like, exciting. Because, it doesn't have to be this big, grand gesture.
Right.
It could be a simple act of kindness or just, a moment of genuine connection.
Right.
Even just like, a spark of joy that you share with somebody else. Those little things, when you do them with awareness, with intention,
Yeah.
they ripple outwards.
It's that butterfly effect thing, right?
Yes.
Like, you never know.
You never know how far it goes.
Yeah, you really don't.
And I think, like, that's what makes what Anthar is talking about so powerful.
Okay.
It's not just a set of beliefs.
Right.
It's like he's actually offering a framework
Okay.
for a more fulfilling, more impactful life.
It's about, like, really living in alignment.
Yes.
Recognizing that connection.
Recognizing that interconnectedness.
Yeah. And understanding that we have this responsibility to nourish not just ourselves, but the world.
And that brings us to this other really important point that we touched on earlier. It's about more than just consuming information. It's about digesting it.
Okay.
Like really integrating it into our being.
So it's one thing to, like, read a book.
Right.
It's another thing to actually apply it to your life.
Exactly. It's like the difference between reading a recipe and actually savoring, like, a delicious meal.
Right.
It's about allowing those flavors to, like, really, you have to, like, experience it.
You have to embody it almost.
Yes.
Otherwise, it doesn't really do anything
Well,
for
it just sits there. Right.
Right, exactly.
And so just as our bodies break down food, Anthar believes that we have this similar capacity on a mental, emotional, and spiritual level.
Okay.
To, like, digest experiences, to learn from them, to grow from them.
And to not let the hard things, like, make us bitter.
Yes. It's about finding that wisdom in the challenges.
Because those are always going to be there, too.
Always.
So then how do we become better digesters of our experience?
Well, he talks about mindfulness being a crucial part of that.
Okay, so, like, slowing down.
Slowing down, paying attention.
Really being present.
Yes. Like when you're eating a meal, you wouldn't just, like, shove it in your mouth, right?
Certainly not.
Right. So it's about bringing that same awareness to our experiences, paying attention to our thoughts, our feelings without judgment.
Just noticing them.
Noticing them, allowing them to be there, and then asking, like, okay, what can I learn from this?
So it's like bringing that awareness we try to have in nature to our inner world.
Yes. Like we create that space, that stillness within.
Because that's where the real magic happens, doesn't it?
That's where the transformation happens.
Yeah, and I know I'm so bad at this. Like, I just rush from one thing to the next.
Oh, I know, me too. It's so easy to do, especially these days.
It is. It's so easy. But then we wonder why we're so exhausted all the time.
Right. We're, like, craving that nourishment.
Yes, but we're not even giving ourselves the space to, like, receive it.
Exactly. We're not creating the container.
We're not digesting. It's like we're just, like, on information overload all the time.
Information overload. And it's not nourishing. It's just overwhelming.
And it's funny because it makes me think about what we were talking about earlier, about silence being this form of nourishment.
Yes. It's like hitting the reset button.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it's so crucial in a world that's like, go, 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 do more, be more.
Right. It's like radical self-care at this point.
It really is. It's like giving ourselves permission to just be.
Yeah.
It really is. Like hitting the reset button.
Yeah. Giving ourselves permission to just be, to reconnect with that, like, that quiet space.
Yes.
And it's from that place, I think, that we can really, like, access that deeper nourishment.
Okay.
The kind that Anthar is talking about.
Because it's not just about, like, taking it in, right? It's what we do with it.
Yes, it's about the transformation.
Yeah.
And he uses this this analogy of the alchemist.
Okay.
How they take raw material.
And through this process,
Right.
they create something totally new.
Right.
And he's saying we can do that with our experiences.
Oh, wow.
Take the joys, the sorrows, the
Yeah.
challenges, and turn them into something valuable.
It's like that quote,
What's that?
turn your wounds into wisdom or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like we all go through hard things.
I do. Life is full of them.
But we have a choice,
We do.
We can let them, like, make us bitter,
Right.
or we can learn from them.
Exactly. And I think that's where that awareness comes in.
Okay.
That mindfulness that we were talking about.
So approaching even those tough times
Yeah.
as like an opportunity.
Yes. As an opportunity for nourishment.
Because there's always something to learn. Always, always. And the more we can remember that, the more fulfilling I think our lives become.
And the more we can contribute to.
Exactly. Because as we nourish ourselves, it ripples outward.
We become the nourishment.
Yes.
That's so cool.
It's like we become walking embodiments of that.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to write that down.
I'll write that down.
Walking embodiments of nourishment.
Yes.
Well, Anthar has given us a lot to think about.
He has.
We've been talking about nourishment in a whole new way.
Beyond the plate, right.
Beyond the plate.
From the air we breathe to our experiences.
Yeah, to like even joy.
To the energy that flows through us.
Right.
To our interconnectedness.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's good stuff.
It is good stuff.
It's really about like stepping into our power.
Yes, I like that.
You know, as humans.
Yeah.
To choose nourishment, to choose growth.
So the next time you find yourself, I don't know, scrolling on your phone or eating a meal.
Or just breathing, even.
Or just breathing, yeah. Remember, it's all an opportunity.
It's a choice.
It is a choice. What will you choose?